for takeoff.
Is this the best twin solution? The Tecnam P2006T MKII truly is a class of its own. Flexible and economical, with this aircraft you can get more than a twin for less than a single. Known for being among some reputable flight training agencies, this has been a favorite meeting different categories. Who is Tecnam and why is it considered a popular one? Before we dive right into details, thank you for tuning in, and I'm Chikmangaloore. The motto of this company says it all: quality aircraft since 1948. The commitment provided goes back almost 6 decades, serving the general aviation community. Meeting different configurations under general aviation has been the team's forte. Ladies and gentlemen, in the virtual skies, we present you the Tecnam P2006 from the team of Flight Sim Studios. We've heard a good deal about this team, and Flight Sim Studios haven't been new to this game. The Embraer 175's arrival marked this year's first installment, followed by the Sea-Ray, which apparently tells us the different types of aircraft they intend to offer us. Variety always benefits not just us as consumers, developers as well, to improve their way of producing some challenging codes. Easy and realistic mode. One of the first things to know about this model. It comes with 2 different modes, helping different pilots get accustomed to the way they prefer to fly. You get to choose the options in the given tablet here. Easy mode, as it states, perfectly intended for all recreational pilots who would prefer to sit back and hit the fly button without the need of following a checklist. Realistic mode is offered to pilots intended to enjoy every step of the way of starting an aircraft and having a more serious flight. What we are featuring today is a realistic mode, and it's more enjoyable and a personal choice. Let's take a walk around the aircraft. A beautiful model, isn't it? Feels like it just came out of the factory line with that fresh painted livery. The overall picture of the model looks rather impressive at the first look. The livery chosen here is a special mission platform version. Now this is based on a maritime surveillance version of the Tecnam. It definitely has some background. This was considered useful, helping aid sea-based terrorism at naval forces, plus several other assistance programs including search and rescue missions, fisheries protection, offshore oil fields assistance, drugs and illegal immigration, all the way to defense. There's an added feature on this livery, which is a future fix to expect. We will go over this soon. A wide model with a wingspan of 11.4 meters. It's a cantilever high-wing monoplane, an Italian high-winged all-metal aircraft. The stabilator is attached to the fuselage that's mostly aft of the vertical fin. This is a single unit, by the way, the stabilator, with a cutout in its leading edge where it mounts to the tail cone. The model sports a tricycle landing gear as we see it, and the nose wheel of the landing gear retracts onto the nose cone. Observing the top, the fuselage is a slightly rounded rectangle that's higher than its wide. Now the high-wing configuration offers stability with the added superior cabin visibility and easier access for passengers and luggage. It looks light, that carries a maximum weight of 2,600 pounds. Now the actual place where this plane was built was at Naples, Italy, a beautiful part of Italy. Taking a close look at some detailing here, it does show the amount of meticulous detail the team have worked on. The landing gear appears to be well done, even with those fine lines and wires as we see them. Taking a good look inside, I can smell the leather as we're seated here. A good polished look overall at the first glance. The cabin welcomes an easy get-in and get-out access to passengers, holding a generous space inside. 2 doors on each side. The cabin makes it easy for pilots to comfortably sit and view instruments. Well-integrated instruments as we see it that show special care taken here to the cabin's interiors and comfort. On the left-hand side, I get to see the surroundings quite comfortably with its large windows, providing excellent visibility for pleasant VFR flying and safe ground operations of course. The cabin does have a spacious luggage compartment, handling luggage up to 350 liters in capacity. Moving around in the 3D cockpit and passenger compartment, I gotta be honest, it definitely sports high quality looking at the overall place. The cockpit. With all the instruments lined up, each of them have been placed perfectly well to operate when needed for the pilot. Large screens makes viewing easy while flying. With a PFD on the left-hand screen and the MFD on the right-hand side, the autopilot is conveniently placed on top of these screens. There are a range of switches here, from the rudder trim disconnect switch, electric fan switch, fire detection system located on the far left. On the far right below, we see a number of light switches. The lower central pedestal consists of the throttle lever, propeller pitch control lever, carburetor heating lever, windshield defrost control knob, and the parking brake. On the top of the overhead consists of the fuel selector valves, electric starters, fuel pumps, and the left and right ignition buttons. Now on the side right next to it, there are different types of lights that can be controlled, all together placed here, giving the user the control to cabin lights, avionics, and cockpit lights. On the mention of the livery, this model comes with shade covers on the top. Another feature on the rear seat would be the observation station with controls. This basically translates camera captures that can be attached to the belly of the aircraft, a feature to expect in the future to function. The EFB, or the Integrated Tablet, an added feature that helps us make any changes on the current flight. A simple click should turn on the tablet. The navigation map here shows your position and the flight plan if you have one loaded. The aircraft weight can be set via weight and balance menu as a workaround or conveniently on the EFB. From the pilot, co-pilot, passengers and the load, you can choose what you desire on your flight when it comes to weight. Now, depending on what your flight plan is, fuel calculations are essential during your pre-flight. Remembering that this is a 200-liter capacity model, there's a fuel burn of roughly 40 liters per hour that relates to a 4.5-hour comfortable flight. I feel good today. Let's swipe my card and have a full tank. While I wish the price of gas was cheaper, that would be another conversation. As mentioned earlier, we have two different modes to choose from. The easy mode and the realistic one that comes under operations. The easy mode is configured in a more simpler manner. The pro mode here is where it gets interesting. The engine start is manual. The state of the instruments remain in a continuous state, plus the added circuit breaker simulation. While devs are working on fixing third-party interference, there are some incompatibilities. One thing to note would be FS Realistic, a tool that most of us use for sound immersion. The team suggests us to start this application after spawning, as the current configurations haven't been 100% set for this tool to integrate well with the model. The startup. Before the startup, there are a range of things to confirm on the checklist to ensure that everything is followed and in place. The fuel needs to be checked. It has a 200-liter capacity with 100-liter tanks on each side. The model sports with 10 different liveries that are real-world. With everything in place, the parking brake in place, doors closed, PFD, MFD clean, fuel quantity check, fuel selectors on, it's time to start the engine, take a flight around the area, get a good feel of what this beauty has to offer us. To start the engine on the realistic mode is a little different. The Rotax engine has a special oil distribution system that needs to be operated accurately before starting the engine. You need to rotate the prop manually here until a bubbling noise is heard from the engine. Are the oils pushed through the pipes? We're about to find out, and it makes it quite interesting, more natural. Okay, nothing has happened. Let's turn it again. What makes it interesting is the oil temperature that relates to the number of rotations until we hear the first bubbling noise. If you need to bypass this step to start the engine, you can select Prepare for Departure option here, but I do think it's fun starting this way. Let's listen to the sounds of this thing. Before taxiing, we do have the clearance. The engine's warmed up, we can see the temperatures reach at 50 degrees at 1200 rotations per minute. Let's make sure of the navigation lights, taxi and the landing lights. Releasing the parking brakes and testing the brakes to make sure. It feels great already, and I like the way the engine sounds and the manner the design has been well made accurately. With the help of Tobii Eye Tracker, it gets even more real. I just find it very comfortable to use Tobii, to be honest. A heads-free option on immersion, and it's really immersive to look around while taxiing. On a side note, detailed airports makes it a joy to taxi around actually. You can observe all sorts of things that are part of the airport. Plus, with the real-time air traffic, it makes things more serious. Alright, before takeoff, let's make a final check. Let's engage the parking brake. Fuel pressure, check. Oil temperatures between 90 to 100 degrees, that's recommended. Oil pressure between 2 and 5. Fuel pressure between 2.2 and 5.8 psi. The engine instruments look all green, meeting the parameters. With the clearance in, releasing parking brakes to line up. Magnetic compass, check. AHRS, check. Alright, here we go. Reaching 64 knots. A good climb at 80-ish knots. Gear up. Confirming with ATC, we are officially up in the air. Cruising here at a comfortable speed, I think it felt pretty good during that takeoff. During this test flight, I switched constantly between manual flying and using the autopilot. I think the flight feels great. After a while having a good feeling about this first impressions, I do believe this is an addition worth considering. Different weather conditions were tried, including rain and night effects. I do think that the Tecnam flies as expected. I've tried out different weather conditions on this, and it does feel good in terms of flight behaviors and responses. I'm certain for the most part, there have been quite a lot covered on this model. There are 10 liveries that comes with the model, and FlightSim.to have open doors to their paint kit, which means more liveries are lined up to suit the adventure of your choice. Another great addition from the team of FlightSim Studios that's conveniently placed at the Aerosoft Store for $32. The link can be found in the description below. What are your thoughts on this beautiful bird of a kind? Do leave your thoughts on the comments below. We hope you liked this video. It's always been a true pleasure. Until next time, do take care.